Hello, good evening. I'm Richard. Welcome back to my channel over and over and over again. It's Tuesday, it's 7:30, and this is going to be a very, very exciting Tuesday club. Hello, good evening. I'm Richard. Welcome back to Over and Over and Over Again, the Arsenal podcast. Tonight, it's the Tuesday Club, of course, the new weekly show. This is episode 4, and I'm going to be joined by the usual panel. We've got a lot to talk about, obviously, as there generally is with Arsenal. We're going to look back on the Brentford game on Friday, get the guys' thoughts on that particular game. We're going to also talk about the Auba and Laca situation, what's really going on there, do we know? And also, as well, we're going to discuss Arteta and the bad start to the season following a poor pre-season and not the greatest season last year either. Can he turn things around? We're going to look ahead, of course, to Sunday's game against Chelsea now, which has become even more important than it generally would have been anyway, following the result on Friday. And also, as always, we're going to look in the archives as well. Tonight it's going to be 1983-1984 season, which was a season of a lot of change at Arsenal, actually. So we're going to look back on that season as well. And then we're going to do the week 2 predictions and look at how we got on our week 1 predictions as well. It was quite close, actually. All of us did roughly the same, but there is an early leader in that table. So we'll go through that as well. And that will all be coming up the other side of this. So we've got the panel in the house, of course, as always. First of all, he's back in the UK, actually, finally, after his little holiday, looking very tanned. It is, of course, Melvin. How you doing, Melvin? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. That tan was even deeper before Friday's game, I tell you.
Yeah, I bet it was. And also, as well, it's, of course, Adam as well. How you doing, Adam? You okay?
Yeah, not bad at all. Good to see you both, gents. As Melvin says, just about got over Friday, I think. Just about. Took a couple of days, though.
It certainly did take a couple of days, at least, probably a little bit longer with all the other results, which we will kind of talk about as well. So I guess there's only one place that we can really start tonight. It's the only place really that the first thing that we need to discuss, and of course it is this. So Friday's game, and not the start to the season that we're all hoping for, or maybe anticipating either. A fair play to Brentford, I've got to say. They played well on the night, deserved their victory, but I'm more concerned about how poor we were, actually. Very, very interested to hear what you guys made of it. Well, I'm sure probably going to be very similar. I'm sure none of us are very happy about what we witnessed on Friday. So, Melvin, if we start with you, then I know it wasn't. I say it wasn't what we was expecting. In many ways, it was what I was expecting. What did you make of first of all, the lineup? Obviously, a few people pulling out.
I thought the lineup was, having known that the two forwards weren't playing, I thought the lineup was okay. Funnily enough, I wasn't that bothered about the lineup because, in all fairness, I don't think Aubameyang's been putting anything in anyway. He wasn't missed because he hasn't done anything. So I wasn't worried about that. Martinelli for him all day long. Balogun, well, he's a bit raw. He's no Lacazette. Going forward, he might be better than him. Who knows? But I thought that team should have been good enough to beat Brentford. All right. But we spoke about it last week. We called it as it was. Brentford will be up for it. They'll have the crowd behind them. It's a night game, and it panned out exactly as we thought. I mean, as we would go through, I gave it 2-0, didn't I? I didn't want to.
You did.
I gave it 2-0. I just thought, oh dearie me. Anyway, what did I think? I thought the team lineup was fine. Nothing wrong with that. The strange thing was, just going through the match quickly, after 10 minutes, we seem to just lose it. We've got the individuals in our team now that if suddenly something goes a little bit wrong after 10, 20 minutes, we can't get it back again. We can't go into second or third gear. That's it. We hit the top and that's it. We go back, and what was disappointing for me, apart from loads of things, but when we went 1-0 down, we never actually attacked them. I don't know how we thought we're going to get level or win this game if we don't attack them. We seem to be like playing for a 1-0 loss. That's happened so many times as well under this management. We've got to. You're 1-0 down. I don't want to get beat 2-0, but I'd rather get beat 2-0 and have a go. But we got beat 2-0 without having a go, and also when they scored their second goal, I know he was fouled, the keeper, but at the end of the day, the keeper's got to push him away. I'm no goalkeeper, I ain't got a clue, but if you just push him away, all right. And that ball came over. It's like we said in pre-season, Richard. How many goals are you going to give away like that? It was a typical pre-season goal. Yeah. Right, we gave away loads. We spoke about this, didn't we, the other week, about the set pieces that we give away goals. And once the team gets a corner, you think to yourself, oh my God. I mean, look at the difference. You as well, Adam. Look at the difference of your thoughts. Think about it. When you're sitting there, Arsenal are defending a corner, right? You're probably worried, all right? Arsenal get a corner, you ain't got a chance of them scoring. You ain't thinking we've got a chance here of scoring. That's with every team we play. It's unbelievable. It should be 50-50 in a proper world. But we seem to go, as I say, defending a corner, you're going, oh my God, can we get this one out? We're attacking a corner. Well, are we going to mess it up? Or are we going to do a little short one that goes back to the halfway line? I'd rather a free kick outside the box. We're just going to put it straight in and shut our eyes and hope for the best. Because we don't take any advantage of corners. I actually want a law passed that corners are banned. We'd do better off at the same. But that's one thing. And can I talk about a couple of individuals?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Leno again. I don't know if he's told to play it from the back or he fancies doing it. Shouldn't do it. He should get fined every time he does it, unless the manager's telling him to do it. He gave Xhaka a stupid ball again, which could have led to a goal. We got away with it, but that wasn't his skill. That was our luck getting away with it. I love Tierney, as you know, but I saw from him the other night, attacking-wise, he was only our attacker. But when he gets the ball on the left now, he's got that habit now of giving it back again. He's lost a little bit of confidence, in my opinion. His first move is giving the ball back, which he never used to do. But I tell you we spoke about this again the other week. Mari. He seemed to have gone backwards. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Did they swap him or something pre-season for another player and not tell us?
His twin.
He's a completely different player, doesn't he? You can't ever go at White. But having said that, if you told me during the game there's a £50 million player out there, who is he? I never have picked him. All right. But I'm not having a go. It's his first proper game, So let's just see how he gets on. And playing next to Mari couldn't have helped him. Again, the right back spot, Chambers. If you're telling me that the manager fancies Chambers as our first right back, when you've got Bellerin and you've got Cedric on the right, on the subs bench, and then not only that, you bring on a left back to replace Chambers, you're telling Bellerin and Cedric, don't bother to do your bootlaces up when you come out second half. You're going nowhere, right? That's what it's telling me there. Xhaka had his normal game, so I let that go. I thought the other kid, what's his name, Lou? Who's the one we bought? Laconga, is it?
Laconga, yeah.
I'll tell you something. In a great team, in a good team, he'd be terrific. He's good anyway, but hopefully he doesn't get pulled down to the standard of the rest of them because he has got something about him. You know what I mean? Yeah. You always give the ball forward, always happy to hold the ball, move it forward, with it. So I think he could be terrific. Now, Pepe, I've made my mind up to a degree. I couldn't make my mind up. I want him to do well, but I think what he is now, I've labelled him. He is a player that, what's that expression? I think he's the type of player that he'll do it one week and won't do it the next three.
Luxury player.
Luxury, that's what I'm thinking of. Thanks. He's a luxury player.
He is a luxury player. That's exactly how I would describe him, Melvin.
Yeah.
Exactly that. That's what he is. Because he flits in and out of games. He doesn't have any impact. And then he'll show one moment of brilliance, won't he? Like last season, towards the end, he scored a few goals, but he doesn't have enough influence on the game. If you're losing, he's not going to dig you out of trouble, is he?
No.
And I agree. He is a luxury player. If we're playing well and we're winning, he'll probably do something decent. But if we're losing and we need something special, he's not able to do that, is he? And I agree with that. And he's been like that since he joined. Yeah,
and we can't, in our situation, afford any luxury players.
No,
can't do that. I'm sorry, we're not as good at that. Balogun, obviously, he needs to either go on loan or come in and out the team a bit. He needs a lot more experience, whether it's with us or a championship side, I don't know. Martinelli, again, he was nothing on the left wing, though we weren't doing much. I mean, Tierney attacked better than him on the left wing. But having said that, when he moved inside, he looked a little bit decent. And that's when the manager took him off. Saka coming on, I thought he played a lot better than he did against Spurs. He actually looked nearly up to his level, not quite, a lot better. And I tell you something, Reece Nelson is an enigma, mate. He comes on a sub, and you forget that he ever come in on a sub. Why didn't he grab the game by the neck and say, "I'm going to try something here. I'm going to actually have a go"? Because the way he's going, he ain't going to make it with us. There's no way. I mean, he doesn't get a lot of time. I appreciate that, but so when he's on the pitch, he's got to give it, do something, take someone on. He's looking for the stop, give it back, stop, give it back. Yes, it'll probably be difficult to beat the back every time, but have a go. Just have a go. Try and get round him once or twice. If you lose possession, no big deal. It's up the other end. At least you're trying to do something. He doesn't seem to impress himself on the game at all when he's on. And that's a disappointment, because I thought when he first came in the team as a kid, I thought, this kid, he's got something.
Yeah, he did.
Really, for me, he's gone backwards. Anyway, as the game goes, they bullied us. And I'm not saying it was illegal. It's not illegal to bully. They bullied us. They won every 50, 40, 60 ball they won. They wanted it more. They were more aggressive. They were more positive. And every time they attacked, they looked like they're going to score. Every time their forward got the ball, he had 20 yards to run in. With us, when we get our forwards get the ball, we're so static, we've got three players around us. You know? So the contrast in styles and the contrast in teams and the attitude and everything couldn't be more different. It's as if we, and I'm not the manager, I don't suppose I'm putting on a pedestal, can I? But it's as if we're not coached or told what to do when we go on the pitch, and the other teams do all their homework about us and say, look, this is what we've got to do with him. It's like contrast again, and you shouldn't have such a big contrast between two teams in the Premiership, and you shouldn't have a big contrast between two teams when the other one's the Championship team that's come up, and that is so disappointing. So from Friday night, the only good thing about Friday night was the next day was Saturday, but that was about it, because it really did gnaw at me. I sat with Jerome, we watched it, and we're sitting there. We just had something to eat. We went and watched the game. Lovely, absolutely marvellous. And it was after about quarter of an hour, we're going, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And as I say, it was disappointing, but we weren't shocked, were we?
No. And that's the worst. That's the worst part of it for me, actually. The fact that, I know a lot of people have said pre-season doesn't matter, the results don't matter, and no, they don't. But ultimately, in pre-season, you've got an opportunity to try different things. He didn't do that. You've got an opportunity to see how the team are prepared, and we could see quite clearly they wasn't very well prepared. And we went into that game playing exactly the same as we did in the pre-season games, and exactly as we did most of last season, when we finished 8th in the Premier League. And we only finished 8th because we actually had a decent end to the, we didn't have a decent end to the season. We played a lot of teams with nothing to play for, and we won a few games. So we moved up to 8th, which was the highest, we'd been for most of the season, and I don't know. I mean, that was the worst thing for me, is that it wasn't unexpected at all. And we have had a few comments already in the chat. We've had the Revenant there. He's a Liverpool fan. He says, Richard, how you doing? Yeah, I'm not too bad at all, mate. Thanks for tuning in. He says he feels for us. Mikel Arteta is sinking. We called it for ages. The man hasn't got a Scooby, and you want to improve while he's in charge. Exactly. Totally agree. He hasn't got a Scooby, and it's getting worse. Mark C as well. How you doing, Mark? Thanks for watching. He said there's no one with a battler's personality. There isn't really. Maybe one I could perhaps say, but not too many more. There's no one with a never say die attitude. Again, maybe the same one, I would say. There's no one to rally the troops. No, where's the captain who galvanises the team? Exactly. We lack leaders. And I think that was one of the things when, like Melvin said, when the game started to go against us, the reason why we wasn't able to raise our game is because we don't have leaders to lift us. And sometimes you need that on the pitch. You need one or two players to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and drive you forward. And we don't have that. The Reverend again says Mari, Chambers, Leno had absolute shockers. How woeful they were, along with a few others as well. There's a couple of other names you could have added to that list. Mark C again, too much focus on tippy-tappy football. Exactly. Not enough focus on desire and effort to push us on. Exactly. It's all about the system rather than trying to go all out to try and win a game of football. You saw what Brentford did. The Revenant again says, I was not feeling confident as a Liverpool fan. Then I saw what Mikel Edu and Kroenke did to Arsenal on Friday night and I pepped up. Actually, maybe enjoy our game more. You guys need a lot of work. We certainly do need a lot of work, and I'm not sure we're going to get that done. And Gary Jones as well in the chat. Hey, mate, thanks for watching. He says, he looks like a rabbit caught in the headlights. He certainly did the other night, didn't he? He didn't like the physical aspect that Brentford posed. I mean, that second goal, as Melvin said, what you've got to do there as a goalkeeper is you've either got to go down and make sure the referee sees you've been fouled, or you've got to be stronger. You've got to be physically stronger, push him out of the way, or not illegally, obviously, and give away a penalty. But you've got to do more than what he did. He just accepted the fact that he wasn't strong enough to deal with that. And that's not acceptable. And obviously the first goal at the near post as well. And it's not the first time he's had a game like that, is it? So that's definitely one of the other issues as well that we've got in the team. I mean, there's loads at the minute, I suppose, which we'll come on to. I mean, Adam, what did you make of Friday night then overall? I mean, obviously disappointing, I suppose, is the best way probably the most positive way to describe it, really.
I mean, I think I pretty much agree with everything what Melvin said. The thing what was shocking to me was the fact that we all sat here last Monday and we knew what to expect from that game. We knew, and you just mentioned about the coaching. It was like they didn't know what to expect. Like I saw Brentford maybe 3 times last year on the telly, just watching the game, and I knew how they were going to approach that game. I knew how they kind of played. The higher press, they're a very physical side. They're very good at set pieces. They've got they're known for being quite creative on set pieces. But it was either a case of we didn't have anyone to do the homework on that to tell the players, or we were so arrogant to think that we didn't need to do it. And either way, it comes to the manager, the coach, and either way it falls on that because the players, like for the first 5 minutes, we controlled the game, like passing it around without actually doing anything. And it's like, well, standard Arsenal. But as soon as Brentford started putting their foot in, started getting to the ball first, started being a bit physical, you could physically see the players within 8-10 minutes just shirking away. There was one in the first half, I think, when it come down the left-hand side, and Chambers literally just stuttered. Rather than going straight for it, he kind of stood back like that. And then the guy got there first. Like, the first rule of football is, like, I coach a kids' football team. And, like, one of the first things I always say is be first to the ball. If you're first to the ball, sets an impression straight away on your opponents. That simple stuff, and we just weren't doing it, and that was the biggest thing. Like, were we expecting them to respect us? Like, we shouldn't have been. Like, they've got nothing to play for. You could tell how up the crowd were. You could tell how up for it the management was. The players were when they come on. You could just, and we knew it was going to be difficult. And we let them do it. We encouraged them, if anything, to do it, and it was just so frustrating. I mean, I saw a stat that we had 22 attempts on goal. 20, and that's the most we had in the Mikel Arteta side, which I was astounded by. And obviously the stats don't lie, but when they say attempts, like, are they including ones that were like sky high or 50 meters wide? I don't know.
But did we even have that? I mean, I can't remember us having that many.
I remember the Pepe chance, which was a decent chance in the second half, but the keeper made a good save. Smith Rowe, when he done the run, when he kind of collected the ball midfield, done there and run. And then other than that, there was a few half chances, but that was really it. And I was astounded. That evidently that was the most chances created we've had in the Mikel Arteta era. Well, doesn't say a lot, does it? That we can't remember more than 3 or 4 of them. It's like it's an absolute joke. Yeah. But it was just very frustrating. It's like we've literally not learned anything, and it's exactly the same as most games last year. And fair play to Brentford, to be fair play. I mean, if they play like that, they're going to turn a few teams over that year because they're going to surprise people. I mean, like you said, can complain about the second goal, but as a keeper, you've got to be strong. I think you've got to really be strong, and everyone knows that goalkeepers will always get the advantage on a 50-50. If you go for it, the chances are he's not going to get penalised for it either. I mean, their goal was a joke as well. Chambers possibly went out, possibly handball, but in the end, we got what we deserved. I mean, it was just a shambles, really. I mean, the only bright spark for me, I picked out 2 bright sparks. One was Smith Rowe, I think. He was head and shoulders our best player. He was the one bright spark. He was the one person who never stopped moving, always looking for the ball. And that's what made him stand out for me. He was the one player who was always looking for the ball. A lot of players were shirking away from it. They didn't want the ball. They didn't like the atmosphere, whereas he was always looking for it. And I like to see that he's taken on that responsibility. He's got his new contract. He's not just going to sit there. He was trying to pull us back into it. That was good. Saka was similar when he come on. He wanted to get back into it. I thought Lokonga done well in difficult circumstances. I didn't think he got the best support from Xhaka. Xhaka being the more experienced player alongside him. I felt he was kind of left on his own. And, like you said, Xhaka does. I don't mind Xhaka, but I didn't think he had his greatest game. But I think he could have supported Lokonga a bit. So those are my 2 bright spots, definitely. I thought, again, Tierney was good going forward, but I thought susceptible to back a little bit with Mbeumo, wasn't it? The right winger for Brentford. Brentford, he was running Tierney ragged when he was attacking him, and he could have had a couple of chances. I mean, those would be the bright spots. But I mean, it was a very disappointing game, and I watched it with a few of my mates who are various teams. There's an Arsenal fan there, but I also watched it with a Spurs fan, a Palace fan, and a Chelsea fan, and none of them were taking the P. None of them, because 1, it was the first day of the season, and 2, they probably given me enough last year. Do you know what I mean? They're probably just fed up a bit, and it's just it's just unreal. It's just at the end of it, they actually were like, "Oh God, I wouldn't like to be you at the moment." I was like, "I can't blame you." It's what can you do?
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I think in recent years we've maybe suffered quite a lot of banter from other clubs because of the decline that started, but now it's almost like other fans almost feel sorry for us. Actually, they are. It's almost changed, isn't it? And I don't know whether that's not just on the back of Friday. I don't think, but I've noticed that as well. That we're not getting as much banter anymore because it's almost like you can't banter Arsenal at the moment because there's just nothing to banter, is there? And I do think that maybe people have started to maybe, I don't know about, or not all the fans are going to feel sorry for us, but I do think people now maybe understand that the club's in a bit of a mess and there's no point in bantering us, is there really? Because it just isn't at the moment, because we are what we are, and it's quite depressing actually. But I totally agree with you about the positives. I mean, Smith Rowe was really good actually, and that is one positive to take from it. The fact if he can carry on this sort of form through the season, then that's going to be really good to see. Yeah, of course he does. He needs better players around him, and he needs a better structure around him as well. And I agree. I thought Lokonga played well in the circumstances, considering it was his first game in the Premier League, in a difficult game. And I thought he handled himself pretty well in that game. Probably a lot more than we might have expected. So we have to try to look at some positives if we can from what was a pretty dire performance. And that's probably about as far as we can go in terms of positivity. Kieran Tierney put in some good crosses, didn't he? But why is nobody in the box attacking them? And this isn't just a problem from Friday. This has been you're saying, Lacazette and Aubameyang weren't playing, but even when they are playing, we're still
kind of striker
in, and they're not getting on the end of them, are they? Very often, and it was the same problems with different players playing. So to me, it's not necessarily just the players that's at fault. It's the system. And it's the structure of the team, and it's probably, unfortunately, to say it, but the way that we're being coached, it is possibly a factor as well. Back again, the Reverend Knight there says, I saw a very interesting thing online that Brentford used Stoke-like tactics that used to work against you years ago, and they still work because your squad is still weak and your manager didn't have. And then he's put the other comment answers. That's true, and it's funny, isn't it? Because they reminded me a little bit of Stoke with their kit as well, Brentford, red and white stripes. And it was a very Stoke-like tactics, I guess, from Brentford. I thought played with a little bit more style, actually. But I definitely felt that on the night. And it's funny, isn't it? We've got totally different players who played in them days against Stoke, totally different manager, and yet we're still the same outcome. And like you said there, we're still too weak at dealing with that. And it's completely different players, a completely different manager. We've had, 3 different managers as well. And it's, I don't know, something's not right somewhere, isn't it? We've got Terry Mancini's hair transplant, which obviously it didn't go very well, did it, for Terry Mancini, unfortunately. He said, losing like that is so traumatic. I lose the power of speech. Only consolation is next week we play Chelsea. My daughter is coming around with her boyfriend, and I really don't like talking to him. Well, that's fair enough. You probably won't want to feel like talking anyway after that game, I'm sure. I don't think any of us will. But yeah, I kind of feel your pain. Definitely, I think we all do. But yeah, I mean, look forward to what's coming and hope that things are going to get better. But after Friday, I'm starting to think that, I've got 37 games left, and I'm not looking forward to any of them at this moment in time, because I just can't see where the next good performance or spark's going to come from at the moment.
Richard, I don't know where the next goal's coming from. That's No. But going back to about the forwards, about there's no one to give the ball to, this tippy-tappy football, by the time we get it across normally, all their defence is back, they're all having a cup of tea, they know where it's going to come from, they know where it's going. So if they outnumber us in the box and our forwards are not, well, Lacazette and Aubameyang, if they're in the box, one's normally on the halfway line, the other one's on the wing when the ball's crossed. But if they're up there, actually, they don't move in the box. They're static in the box. You watch. They do not make a move. They don't anticipate. I don't know if it's laziness or what.
But the thing is, the
crosses have got to be pinpointed.
Well, no, they have. But with Aubameyang, right, when he first came to Arsenal, his first year and a half or so, he was making great movement in the box.
Well, was that because
got a lot of goals with that movement that he had? And now it's not there, is it? It's not there at all.
You've got to remember, Richard, we had Ramsey running past him to help him out. You had Ozil as well.
Yeah.
It was a different type of, and we were breaking. We had, other players as well to help him out. Nowadays, with all this backwards, sideways, and everything else that's going on, as I say, by the time the ball gets, when we look dangerous, when Smith Rowe gets the ball, does a 1-2, flies down the wing, crosses it, someone else is running off of him, we look dangerous. Once we put our foot on the ball as we're attacking, everything, in my opinion, breaks down. I don't care what happens after that. It just breaks down. You've got to keep the ball moving and keep it moving forwardly. I don't think any Brentford players kicked the ball backwards, did they, against us? I wasn't studying it, but I can't recall. And that's what we did.
They probably did, but it was nowhere near as many times as what we did. So it almost, you don't remember it, do you? And that is a problem that we've got. And it is a tactical issue, and it is a structure of the team and the system that that Arteta's insisting on playing, even though it's clearly not working. It didn't work last season with slightly different players on Friday. It didn't work. And if it's not going to work against a team that's just come up from the Championship, who actually only won the playoffs, so they wasn't even in the top 2 in the Championship last season. And I'm not saying they're not a good team, because they got some good players and they played well. But that's the sort of team that if the system isn't going to work against a team like that, how's it going to work against a Man City or a Liverpool or a Chelsea or even a Tottenham or a West Ham? You know what I mean? It's not, is it? And that's a real worry for me as we going into the new season. Another worry as well, I think that we do need to talk about this a little bit, is obviously the bromance bit that used to be going on with the 2 guys up front. What is illness, they said, didn't they? Aubameyang and Lacazette. Aubameyang, first of all, was missing the game, and then Lacazette pulled out as well, kind of late on Friday. And obviously it was given as illness. Now, they were very, very cagey. Arteta was very cagey with his answers when he was asked about it. And I believe, and I've got no proof either way, but I believe there was something else around that, not illness at all. I think there's some other issues going on, whether it's a falling out with the manager, whether it's something else, I'm not sure. I think maybe Aubameyang perhaps was maybe forced out of the squad because of some sort of attitude issue. He's had these before, hasn't he, at other clubs when his discipline off the pitch hasn't been great. He's had it with us. He was late for a game last season, for example, and as Lacazette maybe backed his mate, and maybe that could have been why. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that, Melvin? Do you think there was an illness, is an illness, or do you think there's something completely different that we're not being told about?
I spoke to a friend of mine, a good friend of mine who's a doctor, and he said from what he's seen, he reckons they've got something called post-net phobia. It's a fear of goals. But no, I think there is something more than that. Too much of a coincidence, isn't it? Those two players at that time, at the same, and an illness. So what is the illness? Is it that they can't say what it is? Is it some special thing they can't say? What illness can it be that they can't tell the public? If it's that bad, they'd never play again, would they? You know what I mean? So it's obviously something to do off the field. They're not ill. It's something to do off the field. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them goes, if not both of them. And there haven't been, let's face it, Aubameyang hasn't been himself all last year, even all last season. This season, I don't think his shoulders can go any lower than his knees, but they do somehow on the pitch. And it really is, the whole thing stinks. It really does. We've got to put ourselves in this position. We've relied on him. We gave him the contract. It was a great thing to do, certain people thought. I wasn't that particularly enamoured with it. He just won us the FA Cup, no doubt about it. But like someone once said, you pay players not what they've done for you, what they're going to do for you. And we seem to get it asked about elbow. Well, what's the point of, you're going to give, again with Willian, we're paying Willian on not what he's going to do for us, is what he's done for Chelsea. We're paying him the wages that Chelsea should have been paying him.
Yeah.
So it's mind blowing. We can get very depressed, but I'm not. I
mean, it just seems a little bit strange to me that there was quite often Mesut Ozil had missed games due to a mystery illness that was never talked about much. It was just that Ozil's ill and he's out of the squad, and then suddenly we're getting the same old stories again. I mean, what do you think about that, Adam? Do you think that was just a cover up, or do you actually think maybe they are genuinely ill?
No, I think it's a complete cover up. Like, there's no question, no two ways about it. It was the way it was announced. I mean, obviously, there's so many different rumours you could listen to, but Arsenal, if the illness around at the moment is COVID, but when our players have had COVID before, the club have said such and such has got COVID. When Arteta had it, Arteta's got COVID. And when he had COVID, Kolasinac, they wasn't bothered about telling them because it was so in the realm. So, I've heard some rumours that they have got COVID now, 4 days later, but that's just an excuse. But no, I mean, I do think that there's been a clash of personalities there. I do think that, I've heard various things, and obviously they are good mates, Lacazette and Aubameyang. They are two of our senior players as well. And for me, it should have probably come down to the fact that one of them, if not two of them, will drop because of their performances in pre-season and to a lesser extent last season. And going into the new season, I like to think maybe they wanted to give younger players a chance who have kind of earned the chance. But, it's tough to drop both of them in one game. One of them you probably could understand. Two is a bit of a statement. But I do think it's got to be something to do with attitude. Like, I think Lacazette's generally been okay up until now. He has a bit of a sulk every now and then. But as we do know, he is quite loyal to Aubameyang. So, there's no illness there whatsoever. And there's no smoke without fires as well. All of a sudden, they're both on the market. They're both agents are putting themselves about. That doesn't just come out of anywhere. That doesn't come out because they're ill, does it? All of a sudden the agents don't start getting involved because they're ill, and their brothers don't start speaking up. No, it stinks a bit. But why there can't just be an honest approach about it? And, it's beyond me. And that's one of the things that really bugs me about the club sometimes. It's like, what have they got to lose by just telling the truth? Like, they've got to gain a lot of people respect them, no matter what the truth is. Tell us. I mean, we'll probably find out on Amazon next year, what happened.
We might do, yeah.
We'll probably next season when they have the Amazon thing on, when this Lacazette and Aubameyang thing they're going to talk about.
That'll be episode 1, won't it?
They're cut to the adverts. Don't worry about that.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, that's got off to a tasty start, that first episode for Amazon, isn't it already? You know,
Oh,
two of
yeah.
our star players dropped to
be
loss
loving
against Brentford. You know, they must be loving it, Amazon, I tell you.
Yeah, no, they will be. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly an explosive start to the series, isn't it? Let's hope that things settle down and it doesn't carry on like that for the rest of the season. Or we're in for some fun, aren't we? But it's. I mean, I just can't. I agree with you, Adam. I don't know why the club can't just be honest and come out and say if they're ill, how are they? What illness have they got? Would have maybe stopped all the rumours. And secondly, as well, if they're not ill, just tell us. I'm leaving them out of the squad. I'll tell. I'm leaving them out of the squad for disciplinary reasons. No one can argue with that. If that's the reason, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? And if people are upset that they've heard that, well, it's tough luck, isn't it? Because if that's the truth, I'd rather know the truth, even if I don't like it, than be lied to and be kept in the dark, like it seems to be. It seems to be the case. I mean, it's crackers, really, and it's not.
But for me, this is what the difference is. Like, this is like a difference between like the top managers out there. The top managers are not afraid to back their decisions up. You know, so like Mourinho in the past, we've seen him drop players, and he's had no problems telling them either wasn't the right, you know, he hasn't been himself in training, or this isn't the right game for him. Like, not trying to back it up or anything. He's not throwing him under the bus, but he's just saying he wasn't selected for that game. I think Pep last year, I think it was when people were wanting Foden in all the time, and he was saying he's not ready yet. I don't feel ready to put him in the team. Like,
exactly. Yeah, just be honest, and that's surely that's got to be a better policy, and it stops all the rumours anyway, doesn't it? At the moment, all we've had since Friday, rumours about this, that, and the other, rumours about falling out, rumours about players leaving, and all this kind of stuff. And Arteta could have stopped all that just by literally telling us the truth on Friday. You know, this is the reason why they're not in the squad. That would have been.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to rename our team, not Arsenal, call them Fleetwood Mac. That's all rumours, isn't it?
The rumours, yeah.
Yeah, the rumours, exactly. That's what we are. We're definitely rumour FC at the moment, aren't we, with everything that goes on? But that's because if the club aren't going to come out and be honest with us, it's going to make these rumours start, isn't it? Because people are going to start questioning what's going on, and then that's how it all starts, really. We've got a few more comments have come in. Russie says good evening, as he usually does. Good to see Russ in the chat. And the Reverend Knight again says you also had Emery, who actually had a clue when Auba and Laca were at their best. Yeah, that's true. They said obviously Arteta sucked the life out of your strikers. They look like they're in shells in themselves and are now ill. Yeah, exactly. They're not ill, are they? We don't think. But anyway, Russ says there that the fuzzer finally found out where I'm hiding because of my little flashing light show, which is good. Mark says, God help us on Sunday. Well, yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same, actually. And Reverend Knight there says to Russ at Arteta, Centedu and Vinay, they put on a fake siren on their car. Yeah, that's probably what's happening. I'll have to go out and see him later, have a word. And Russ says the likelihood is we'll have 0 points going into the international break, and we have to get rid of Arteta. If we've got 0 points at the international break, doubt about that, is there really? I don't suppose. You might get away with it because it's two big games, maybe against two top teams. Ryan's in the chat as well, Mr. Arsenal podcast. Evening, Ryan. We'll just definitely go and check his channel out as well. And he says is Richard having a disco? Yeah, I was having a disco, but I thought I'd do the show while I'm waiting for that to come round again. So yeah, but I mean, I think it's you know, we just need. I just want a little bit more transparency with the club. Tell us what's happening. If you're selling them, you're selling them. Get it done. Get replacements in. Happy days. If there's some other issues going on, I mean, it just worries me because Aubameyang's had these issues at every club he's been at in the past, hasn't he? It was one time at Dortmund where did he not turn up for training because he wanted to move and stuff like that? And he's done it before, hasn't he? You know, I think his brother's got too much influence over him sometimes, not in the right way either, as we've seen. So, yeah, that's a bit of a mess. And GG Goonis here says absolutely no illness. I'll bet the Amazon documentary doesn't pick it up either. Complete beer. No, I was that when we were just talking about that. You know, it's so early, and by the time it gets broadcast next year, this won't be such a big issue, and they could easily brush it under the carpet and not mention it, couldn't they? I suppose, unless it does come out that there is some big massive issue and it's going to make a great story, then Amazon won't want to cover that up, will they? They'll want to, they want to make sure that it gets some more viewers, I suppose. But yeah, we probably have to wait for that, unfortunately. So I don't know why they just can't come out now and tell us what's happened, what's going on, and we can then put it to one side and move on. Unfortunately, it's just going to drag on until they either leave or they're back in the team again, I suppose. That kind of leads me on to the next thing, really, which is, Russ has touched on it as well, but I do think we do need to start questioning this guy. Obviously, I put on the graphic there, can Arteta turn it around? Just because I don't think he's necessarily going to be sacked yet anyway. So if he's not going to be sacked, he's got to turn it around, because we're in a little bit of a mess. Melvin, I know we are all running out of patience with Arteta, aren't we? And I think that's quite obvious. I think most Arsenal fans are now. But do you think he's we don't let it drag on? Because we let it drag on with Emery, didn't we, when he clearly lost the dressing room, and we kept him for an extra 6 weeks that maybe we didn't need to. Have we learned from that, or are we still thinking that maybe he had a few players missing, let's give him the benefit of the doubt? Do you think he's got the capabilities of turning this around and getting us to improve on last season, which I think what we need him to do?
Not at the moment, I don't, Richard. I want him to do well, like we all do. We want to all give him the benefit of the doubt. But so many things point to him not being a success as a manager. They outweigh the things that you think, this guy has got something about him. No, as I said earlier, look at the right back situation. We haven't bought one, and the two recognised, or three, like Maitland-Niles, right backs are getting a look in. I'm getting a look in when we've got a left back he puts at right back and a centre half who ain't a right back plays at right back. So that's 5 players. You're thinking, what is going on? No other manager would do that. I don't know why he's doing it. He just said, and also you're talking about, I don't know if we're going to, this Leicester guy, Maddison. If we spend another 60, 70 million on him, I don't say we don't need him, but I wouldn't swap him for Smith Rowe, put it that way. We've got Smith Rowe, we can handle it in midfield of what Maddison will bring us. All right, I know that Smith Rowe's got to score a few, but he will get better, and he'll be better than Maddison, I reckon. So we don't want to spend 70 million on him and don't buy a right back. I'm not saying spend 70 million on a right back. I'm saying spend 70 million or 60 million on a right back, a centre half, and a destroyer in midfield. And I just was thinking the other day, I know we don't like talking about Spurs, and we won't for too long, but we've been needing a destroyer in midfield for years now, right? And I don't know if I think it was on, I don't know if it was on your show. I think it might have been your show, is it? Yes. We had the Southampton guy on talking about Arsenal were looking at him. Holbeck, or what's his name?
Yeah. Holbeck.
Do you remember that, Richard?
Yeah, I do.
That doesn't sound too bad. What's he like? Well, he's all right. He was going. I'm thinking, I've seen him play. He's quite good, right? And that was perfect, right? He would have been. He's done so. I don't like the geezer. Don't get me wrong. I don't like, but he's done a great job for Spurs. He's tightened them up the last 30 months since he's been there. That's the perfect player we could have got. Didn't cost a fortune. Knew the league. Knew what he could do. He was a terrific signing for Spurs. Very clever. We never seem to do that. We've been crying out, and all of a sudden, didn't they listen to our programme, Richard? They would have got a clue, wouldn't they, the Arsenal? Who to sign?
Maybe Spurs did. I don't know, but you're right, though. Yeah, we don't tend to buy the players that we need. We've just spent 50 million on a centre half. Who did we really need that as a priority? I'm not saying he's not going to be a good signing eventually, but I thought our priorities were elsewhere. But for me, one of the real worries for me is, and it's not just from Friday. This goes back like pretty much most of the time Arteta's been in charge. Whoever we play, and even when you look at other games that we're not involved in the Premier League, every other team looks more organised than us. Every other team looks more up for the game. Every other team looks better coached than us. And that is a worry. I was thinking after this weekend games, I watched a lot of the highlights and stuff like that on Match of the Day and things like that. And I watched a couple of live games as well. And I almost got the feeling after this weekend that we've actually got the worst manager in the Premier League at this moment in time. And that is, I've never ever felt like that with Arsenal before, because we've never been in this situation before. But for me, at this moment in time, he looks to be the worst manager in the Premier League. Even, I know Patrick Vieira's a new manager in the Premier League and they had a poor first week and stuff. But I'm not just talking about this week. I'm talking about in general over the last 6, 8, 9 months, a year, with what we've been producing, and how other teams seem to be better prepared for games than we are, and that's got to come down to the manager, isn't it, Adam? I mean, well, what are you thinking about ourselves? I know you want to try to support him, as we all do, as Melvin did, but the evidence on the pitch week in, week out is suggesting he can't turn this around. He's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I like to think that he'll have my support why he's leading the club, because we want the club to do well. I never want a manager to do bad, but as the weeks go by, as the games go by, it gets more and more frustrating. And I think my main issue with him is sometimes people said, under Wenger, Arsenal had no plan B. And it's looking very similar. Like, Arteta has obviously got a certain way he wants us to play and a certain way he wants us to set up, and he's got this vision. The problem I have is that's fine, but you've got to have those players to play that way. And it's clear that we don't. Exactly. And so in that case, if we haven't got them now, find a different way of being effective until you can get those players, whether it takes 1, 2, 3 windows. But we obviously want to play from the back. We haven't got a goalkeeper who's comfortable doing that. That's obvious. I mean, I think Leno's quite a good shot stopper. It's been proven. He's obviously got a mistake in him, but he's not a confident passer of the ball. He wasn't an Arteta signing, but his distribution is poor, which means that, we put in danger straight away because the defenders are not getting that good balls. You saw it on Friday night with Mari having a go at him and that. You can't have a go at him because that's clearly, Melvin touched on it earlier, it's clearly something that Arteta's drilling into these players, how he wants to play. But you've also got to have an inkling of, like, if it is in trouble, I've got to kick it into row Z kind of thing, which I don't think Leno always does. Like, at the moment, he's got no one competing for his space. No one else is going to get that number 1 spot until we maybe sign a new keeper. So that's one issue. But even from the centre-backs, the midfielders, they're not comfortable receiving that ball. When that ball's come to them, you can see they're panicking already. And, we've seen it with Xhaka, Ben White the other day, unfortunately, a couple, Chambers. It's not just 1 or 2. It's most of the team. They're just not comfortable. And I completely understand that if you can beat the press, then you do that space further up the field. But at the moment, we don't have the players to utilise that. Now, if you, for argument's sake, possibly give Arteta the Man City squad where he come from and play that, they might have the players to do that. They've got Ederson, who's a very good ball-playing goalkeeper. They've got defenders and midfielders who could do that. They've got fast wingers. So, yeah, by all means. But at the moment, we don't have to do that. But that has to sit with the manager. He has to realise that we don't have these players. So at the moment, why put ourselves in danger and jeopardy until he can get them in? And even with the transfer things, it seems like such a scattergun approach. Like, we're looking at this player in this position. Like you just said, we don't particularly need. Like, I think Ben White will be a very good signing for us. I do, and I was really glad that he come in. But that wasn't a pressing issue for us. Centre of defence was not a pressing issue for us. No. Creative, and maybe a striker was, or that kind of, midfielder, that like enforcer that we need. We glaringly obvious. And a right back was even more in need. Do you know what I mean? So, like, we can all see this. I mean, was it a case that if we don't get White now, we don't get him next year? I don't know. But again, 50 million is a big outlay for something that you don't necessarily need. But I do think he'll do well. But yeah, it's got to all sit with the manager for me. I think that, yes, it's his first job. Yes, he's still learning. But how long do you give him? Because, like, he's now obviously in his 3rd season. I know that the first season was only halfway through. But he should know what he's doing now. He should know the players at his disposal. He should know what they can and they can't do. But I don't think he does. And that's why
Adam, I don't think he now, even to this day, knows his first 11.
No, 11. I don't either.
No. I mean, Mark put that in the comment area. He says, does Arteta ever play the same 11 players 2 weeks in a row? I think he's done it once, hasn't he? I think he did it once last season. I think that's it. But yeah, that he doesn't. Maybe because he doesn't know what his best 11 is that fits into the system that he's trying to play. But yeah, I mean, it is getting to the point where, I mean, how long do you think we should give him to start to turn it around in Melbourne? How long would you give him? How much longer do you think he's got to be able to show that he's got the capabilities around?
If I was a board member, I would sensibly give him till Christmas, because you cannot give this man more money at Christmas in the January window if he's failed. Sorry, you can't do that. You can't. It's got to be a break-off point by December. The board should make up their mind. is this guy going to take us forward? And is it going to take another 3 years with this guy? Because he could bankrupt the club, keep spending the money and not doing anything with it, making it worse. So I would give it to. I don't. We get beat by City, we get beat by Chelsea. That's expected. It's the way we get beat as well. We'd like to think we could beat one of them, but especially the Chelsea game, like we did last season. But that was the turning point for us last season, wasn't it? To a great degree. Yeah. I don't think that we've woken up after one game. We've actually had our faces slapped and go, no, we're not going to be in the top 4, which we knew. No, we're not going to be in the top 6, which we now know, and potentially we may not even be in the top 8 now. This is after one game. I know it's a knee-jerk reaction, but we've seen it, as you said, it's a continuation. It's just not an isolated incident, that game. Mm. So I think that I would give him till December, because we ain't going to go down in December. I'd give it, see how bad it really gets. And if the writing's on the wall, don't give him like we did this season to turn the corner in January. And he did it more luck than judgment. We had a couple of injuries. The team didn't know where the next win was coming from, and Smith Rowe came on the scene. And with Saka's help, Tierney again helping, they turned this team around by themselves. Really, they actually inspired. I think Smith Rowe kept Arteta in a job, in my opinion, and he can't do that every season. It's not right. This should be done collectively, and it's the manager's fault if they're not all given 100%.
No, I totally agree. Ryan says we never address the areas that we need to address for years. Then we have more issues player-wise. Yeah, that's reactive, not proactive in our recruitment. That's true as well, without a shadow of a doubt. Totally agree with that. And Russ says, I think he as well. He says Arteta never learns from his mistakes.
That's a very good point.
To me, that's the biggest issue with him. If you could see he was trying to change things and he was learning, then I would be prepared to give him as much time as maybe was necessary. But the fact is that he's not doing that. He isn't learning from his mistakes. He's doing the same things week in, week out, and clearly it isn't working. And you either change it or you're going to have to fall on your sword. I mean, how long would you give him? How long are you prepared to give him, Adam? I mean, Christmas, Melvin said, would you be looking at Christmas or sooner, or give him longer?
I think that it's too soon now. Now we're kind of season started, getting towards the end of the transfer window. We've got to stick at it now. If the results haven't turned around or have got worse, latest Christmas, because again, you want to give a new manager a chance to actually do something with a decent time available, and plus hopefully have some sort of funds to spend on players that they want. I mean, you say that, but then Arteta come in and just bought freebies, didn't he? He just got like Suarez and Mari in, who were free at the time on loan, and then got them in later on. But I mean, if there's not a drastic improvement, it can't go on any longer than Christmas. And halfway through the season, it's got to be that kind of cut off, really. And I hope he does. I still do have that hope, because as an ex-player as well, an ex-captain, you want to see them succeed. And it's always good to be managed by an ex-player. It's great. But at the same time, if nothing changes, we can't just hope. We can't trust the process any longer. Do you know what I mean? I mean, how long do you trust it for? I think giving him till Christmas would have given 2 years. Do you know what I mean? 2 years, and if there's no real progress in that 2 years, i.e., he took over the team, we finished 8th, then we finished 8th again. So if we're in a position that's 8th or lower by Christmas, then I'd say see ya, because that's no progress at all in 2 years, and that's enough time to make some sort of progress.
Yeah, I mean, you got to bear in mind we're actually 7th when he took over, so we've kind of gone backwards since then. Anyway.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we were 7th at the time. Mark's in the chat says, moves on to Joe Willock. He said, why off a young bloke who looked like he was improving season after season, and yet we keep hold of mediocrity we have elsewhere in our midfield? That's a good point, actually, because Joe Willock, we lack goals in midfield. Last season we did massively lack goals from midfield, and Joe Willock scored goals from midfield for Newcastle, didn't he? Now, he didn't really do it for us in the Premier League. He only scored one Premier League goal for Arsenal, and that was at Southampton just after the lockdown last year. So he never really scored the goal. He never really played many games, I suppose, from the start in the Premier League. He played a lot of cup games, didn't he? But he had the potential, as we could see at Newcastle, to score goals from midfield if he's given that freedom, which I don't think he was being given by Arteta, because Arteta likes to keep chains on all the players and don't like them crossing the halfway line very often. I don't know. I think that maybe it was the best thing for Joe Willock at this moment in time, because I don't think he was going to play regularly for us. And under this manager, I don't think he would have blossomed anyway. So I think it's probably a good move for him. But yeah, it does seem strange that we've kept other players who maybe haven't got that potential as Joe Willock, and we've kept them and sold him. So it does seem a strange decision actually. But I guess
as I said last week, he's also an asset that we got an offer for. You know, we need to trim our squad, and let's be honest, he was going to be a squad player, and getting 25 million for a squad player in this market is good business. And we need
that's what it's come down to.
Exactly. Players before we buy players. Again, I was quite a fan of Joe Willock, and I thought he had something to offer, but at the same time, I thought the offer was there, and as we said before, it might not be there next year, and he might not play this season, so it made sense.
Yeah, I mean,
last week, everyone's a winner. Newcastle are very happy. Arsenal are happy. Joe's happy. So good luck to all three.
I agree.
Yeah, and it just seems a shame that he happens to be a player in a position that we seem to be quite weak in our team, and he wasn't even given many opportunities to play there, was he? Which is a bit baffling. But again, maybe that comes back to Arteta as well. He's the one picking the team. He's the one deciding to give Joe Willock a chance or not. And Mark C says, Melvin, you're too generous. I'll give him till November. To be honest with you, it's gonna probably end up being a results-driven decision, isn't it? If results aren't particularly good, I think if we go through a similar run that we did early in last season, where we couldn't score goals, we were losing every week at home in particular, I don't think he'll even make November, if I'm totally honest. But if we do manage to pull things around and produce some better results, even if the football isn't any better, they probably won't get rid of him at all. That's my worry a little bit, because I agree with Adam. 2 years is more than enough time to have stamped your mark on the team, on the club, and to show the direction that you're taking the club in. In 2 years, you've got plenty of time to do that with the transfer windows that we've had. Yes, it's not been an easy time with the whole COVID thing, which started, 3 or 4 months after he took over. So it was it's been I said that other managers of other clubs have gone through the same. And, you know, they've managed to go to new clubs and stamp on things and whatever. So, I don't know, I think if he makes Christmas, then I think that's, if things haven't massively improved or started to improve, then that's probably about as far as he can get, I think. But I got a feeling it could even be before then, if, as we kind of expect, the results aren't improving enough. You know, we've got 2 tough games, and then we've got a couple of more potentially winnable games. Not that any game's winnable at the minute, but on paper they look it. If we haven't got results in them, and then we play Spurs, and we don't get a result against Spurs either, then that might be it for him, unfortunately. But we'll see. Let's hope we get 3 wins out of those games, and you know, maybe it might turn it around. I mean, we'll come on to the Chelsea game a little bit later on, but I do want to go. You know, all this talk of Arteta stuff has depressed me, so we need to go back in time and look at some more seasons that weren't very good either. This week, actually, I wanted to look at 1983-84 season for a couple of reasons, actually. One, because it was a season where we did change manager halfway through, and we actually got a manager who'd been a number 2, very successful number 2 at Arsenal previously as well. And he was at number 2 at Arsenal at the time, Don Howe, who never quite made it as a number 1 in his own right. He tried at West Brom, didn't he, earlier in his career, and then obviously took over at Arsenal. It didn't really work out. So, and also as well, because it was a season I felt that a lot of changes happened at the club going into that season as well. You know, things that maybe don't seem particularly sort of groundbreaking now, but at the time they were for Arsenal. We redesigned the match programme, which had been very similar for a long years before that, and it got changed. We got a PA announcer for the games, which we never really had before, and obviously David Dean came on the board as well that summer, and we did buy, as that picture showed, Charlie Nicholas was one of the signings, a big signing of the summer as well. So there was a lot of changes going on at Arsenal. I mean, actually, Terry Neal only made it to December before he got sacked that year, when we had some disappointing results. I mean, I'm sure Melvin remembers that as well. And in the end, we finished the season reasonably well under Don Howe initially, but then it all kind of went wrong. A year or so later, he couldn't really motivate the team, and maybe he didn't, you know, I don't know. Did he not? Did he lack the ideas needed to be a top manager as opposed to a good number two, really good coach that he was, as indeed maybe Arteta is. So I kind of saw a few similarities with that season as maybe we're going through now. It was quite an exciting season for me actually, because Chai Nicholas joined. I was only about 15 at the start of the season. It seemed to be an exciting time. Maybe put in a few disappointing seasons behind us, and I went into that season really optimistic, but unfortunately, it didn't last very long because we started losing games right, left, and centre. And I say it ended up Terry Neal getting sacked. I mean, what are your kind of memories of that season, Melvin? Because obviously, it was a season of big changes, wasn't it?
Very much so. I mean, the surprise for me was when we bought Charlie Nicholas, because Man United were after him, and Liverpool, who were the top team then by far, they were after him, and he was a very similar type player. They thought to Dalglish. In the way that he's not centre forward, he's not a fast player, the way he held the ball up, go past people. And I thought, well, why are we getting him? Was it the bright lights of London? I don't know, but he signed for us. He never quite did it, but he had a fantastic record that season against Spurs.
Yeah, he did.
So, so I went. I think we beat them away twice in the League Cup. I think we played them as well. Went to both those games.
Yeah, I did.
And he had a fantastic record against Spurs, which obviously the crowd loved. They loved him anyway because he was very flamboyant the way he played. He wasn't when George Graham came to the club. Obviously, he's not going to be one of his favourites, was he? Because he wasn't that type of player. You know what I mean? But he was good. When on his day, he was fantastic to watch. Great skills. Really, really happy. I remember that season we had some really weird scores. We beat Aston Villa away 6-2. Woodcock, I think, got 4 or 5. I don't know. What did he get? 4 or 5?
Yeah, he got 5.
Five. Yeah, that was mental. We lost at home to West Brom, Coventry, and Sunderland. No disrespect, but it was like, what's going on here? It's really, really poor. In the FA Cup, Middlesbrough beat us 3-2. Now then, this is what I'm not sure about. I didn't go to this one. I don't know why. It's a midweek game, a League Cup. We got beat by Walsall in the League Cup.
Yeah.
Well then, was it Tommy Caton's last game, or did we buy him because the centre half made a mistake, or did Caton make a mistake for one of the goals?
No, Caton. We bought Caton. I think either that day he was in the stand because we'd just signed him.
Oh, that's what it was.
And,
it was about
and he was in the stands watching the game. Maybe we signed him that day. I think it might have been. And then he made his debut the next game, which was at the weekend against West Brom at home, where we lost. And that was his first game. And then I think we had one more game before Terry Neal got sacked. So Tommy Caton got signed, and then literally the manager changed about 2 weeks later. But he was at that game in the crowd, in the director's box, Tommy Caton. Right. I think we may have signed him that day, actually. But yeah, that's maybe why you remember Tommy Caton for that game. He didn't sign. Yeah, but he was there.
He was not very. He never wasn't successful for us.
No,
I mean he was rated. At Malcolm Allison, who was the coach at City at the time. He said he's going to be the next Bobby Moore type thing, and that wasn't his words, but it was that type of. He said he's going to be England captain for years, and he looked good at City. Yeah, he did. He came to us, and it just never happened. No, it just never worked for some reason. And going back to Don Howe, I think that what he did, Don Howe, might have been in the England setup for a bit as well. Yeah, he was. And I think he signed a lot of English internationals like Mariner. We already had Woodcock. We had Anderson. Who else? Williams.
He signed Anderson. He signed Anderson and Williams. Don Howe did.
Did he as well? That's what I'm saying. He signed a lot of these type of players.
Yeah, he did.
Who were very, very good, experienced internationals and knew their way around. But I think what might have happened, they might have been too big for him, if you like what I'm saying. Whereas when George came, he changed it around, got rid of all those, and got all the youngsters in. Brought the youngsters up from the reserves that he thought was, and he made some great decisions there. And the guys he got in from other clubs, but may not have been as young as our youngsters, but they were hungry. And he changed the whole thing around, George, and that's why he was so successful to start with us. So I think to make the comparison with Arteta to a degree is correct, but if you speak to ex-players, they loved Don Howe as a coach.
Yeah,
he knew what he was doing, and I don't get the impression that our manager at the moment is a great coach. You know?
No, I don't know if he's a great coach. I mean, he came with a reputation of being a great coach at Man City, didn't he? Whether he is a great coach in reality with us, I think the jury's still out on that one. And then, I mean, was Don Howe a great coach for us when he was manager? He was a good coach when he was coach, but was he a good coach when he was manager as well? I'm not sure if he was, because results suggest he wasn't. So it's a similar kind of situation. Maybe some people, as we've seen with other Steve McLaren as an example, where you're a great number two, and that's maybe what you're suited to be in. But when you're a number one, you just can't deal with it.
Brian Kidd.
Yeah, Brian Kidd. I think.
And also the other, that geezer, that Dutch geezer, was at Man United, number two at Man United, all Man United manager we're talking about.
Rene Moulin's team.
That's it. He couldn't cut it. Did he go to Fulham or something?
Went to Fulham, and was awful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, you've got to know you some people, very few people grow into it from a coach to manager. 9 times out of 10, they just can't make that. And also, they get very close to the players being a coach, and they can't all of a sudden be the boss. I mean, the clever thing that Ferguson did, he kept well away from the training thing.
Yeah,
he wanted to manage the players, not coach them. He put a line down the middle, and that's why they were frightened of him, because they couldn't get that close to him. That's one of the reasons, anyway.
Can you think off the top of your head of a good number two that actually became a good number one as well? Because I'm struggling to think of one.
I'm sure there must have been, but I can't think. Anyone out there know?
Yeah, if anyone in the chat know, maybe someone who was a successful number two somewhere and then became a successful number one as well, because I'm finding it difficult to think of any. All the ones I can think of that were good number twos that became managers never really worked out for them.
Mourinho started as a number two, didn't he?
No, he was a translator.
Yeah, he was a translator. He was probably a number two as well somewhere, I suppose.
He worked under Bobby Robson somewhere along the line. Or am I making that?
Yeah, he did. He was Bobby Robson's translator initially, wasn't he?
Right. I thought he was a number two, but yeah, okay.
He may have been number two as well later on. I don't know. And he wasn't really noted for being a good number two, though, was he? I don't think Mourinho
wasn't known for being a good one, no.
But I'm not really sure. But yeah, I don't know. There's certainly. I mean, I can't think of anyone that springs to mind that was a great coach and became a successful manager. There must be. Gary in the chat there says Bill Shankly. Oh, was he number two? I suppose Liverpool had a few, didn't they? That they promoted. And
Bob Boot Boys. They were brilliant.
Yeah, Bob Paisley. Yeah, I guess maybe Liverpool. Yeah, perhaps Liverpool did have a couple. I mean, was Bob Paisley was he the number two to Bill Shankly? Then he must have been, mustn't he?
No, I don't think he was. No.
Wasn't he?
I don't know. No. I don't think he was. Thinking back.
He took over from Shankly, didn't he, Bob Paisley? I'm sure.
I'll tell you what, when Bill Shankly was manager, who used to sit next to him was the physio and trainer rather than a coach. It was a geezer like that type of guy. He used to run on the pitch. Geezer used to run on the pitch with a bucket. They didn't have coaches as such years ago. You were a manager.
No, but they had number twos, didn't they? You had an assistant, didn't you? You had a manager and an assistant, maybe.
Yeah.
Like Terry Neal and Don Howe were kind of a partnership, weren't they? And I think a lot of clubs had like a number one and a number two. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool, yeah, that's a good point for Gary, actually, because I think Liverpool maybe just promoted the next guy down, didn't they? I think was it Joe Fagan? Was he not? They had a couple, didn't they, that kind of followed on from all of the, people that were working in the background somewhere and took over as manager, didn't they, to replace the managers and stuff. So, yeah, I think Liverpool maybe did it pretty well, successfully. But there's certainly not been too many that I can think of who were actually a number two or a coach and went on to become a good manager. But, yeah, there will probably be some somewhere. But
what about, I tell you, was he a good number two? He was a decent manager. Houghton of Spurs, the left back. Was he a number two anywhere? Was he ever number two at Spurs? Because he took over at Spurs a few times when they kept sacking their managers, didn't they? Do you remember?
You mean the one that was at Brighton and Newcastle manager?
Yeah, him.
Steve
I'm not
Houghton.
sure what
Chris Houghton, yeah.
Chris Houghton, yeah. I mean, was he a coach at Tottenham? I'm not sure what role he had at Tottenham. But he was a decent manager. You're right. Yeah, maybe he could be one then, because he certainly had, did well as a manager, didn't he? At Newcastle, he did well at Brighton. He did well.
Newcastle done well, didn't he?
He was a decent manager. Yeah. What about the other one at Newcastle, Pardew? Was he a number two at Palace, maybe at the start, perhaps?
Not sure.
Or did he go straight into management? Because I mean, he had reasonable. I mean, I wouldn't say he was a great manager, but I mean, he certainly had. He had a long management career, didn't he?
Steve Clark was number two as well, wasn't he?
Frank Clark, yeah, he was. Yeah, Frank Clark was actually. Yeah,
Steve Clark as well, Scotland manager now. He was number 2.
He was at Chelsea, wasn't he?
And Newcastle for a while. Yeah.
That's right.
He was actually. Yeah, I suppose there's been a few actually. Yeah, that's probably fair enough. And there was someone else just came to me. It's gone now. That he was a number 2 and then became a number 1. Is it Dean Smith who's Villa's manager? Wasn't he number 2 somewhere?
He managed Brentford before there, didn't he?
Well, he'd been a manager for a while, but I'm sure he was a number 2 somewhere, one of the bigger clubs, maybe back in the day. Maybe I don't know if I'm thinking of the right guy, but anyway, there maybe
was a number 2. So he was a number 2 and become a good manager. He's Harry Redknapp. He was number 2 at Billy Bonds. He was.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, when Billy Bonds went, he went in there, Harry.
He took over. He was at Bournemouth, wasn't he, as well as a starter, wasn't he, as manager? I think. Yeah. No, he's done all right as a manager, hasn't he? Certainly had a long career, didn't he? In management, he's on TV all the time now, isn't he? But anyway, no, maybe there probably is a few. Here we go. Ryan's just cleared something up for us there. Thomas Frank was Dean Smith's number 2 at Brentford. He was actually. That's right. Yeah, and then he took over. So he's having quite good success. Peter Taylor and Brian Clough. But Peter Taylor became a manager, but he wasn't that great, was he? He's one of the examples that we're talking about. Really, maybe he didn't quite make it as a manager, did he? I know he had a go, but it didn't quite work out. There's been quite a few of them, and my worry is, like Don Howe, Arteta might end up going the same way, unfortunately. But I mean, Adam, do you remember much about the 83-84 season?
No, got to be quite honest. I was 4 years old.
Was you?
Yeah, like I said, I think the first real season I remember was sort of 86, 87. That was my first sort of memory. I've done I know a bit about it. I've done, I've looked back on Arsenal well over the years, like down to sort of like even into the 30s, and I knew about that team, Terry Neal, and then Don Howe took over, so I know the background of it. But yeah, it was before my time to talk from any kind of personal experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, you didn't miss much, to be fair. It wasn't. What happened that season was we didn't draw many games. We either played well and won, or we played terrible and lost. And we seem to do that on a weekly basis. One week we'd be brilliant. I mean, the week after we beat Aston Villa 6-2 away, we lost at home to Sunderland the next game. And that was just how that season was. We couldn't string together 2 or 3 decent performances until towards the end, after Don Howe took over, actually. We had a good run at the end, and we ended up finishing in the top 6, where we'd been, I'm sure we were down to about 17th at one point, 16th in the table, something like that, when Terry Neal got sacked. So we put together some better performances at the end. I mean, Melvin's right about Charlie Nicholas. I think he scored 4 goals in 3 games against Tottenham that season, which was good. I think he only scored 12 goals in total, and 4 of them were against Tottenham. And
that's right.
Most of the others were penalties, so he did seem to enjoy scoring against Tottenham, which was nice. And
he scored a couple of crackers against Spurs at Highbury. It might have been in the year after, I'm not sure, when he beat about 3 men through the box. Do you remember that?
That was the same season, yeah.
Was it the same season?
Yeah, and he rolled it in the corner, didn't he?
That was blinding, that goal.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
He got everyone on their backside, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was brilliant. That right in front of North Bank. We was going mad that day. That was Easter Monday, I think it was. But yeah, no, that was a good goal. I mean, he scored a few good goals, Charlie Nicholas, but he never quite lived up to the expectations, did he? I think he'd scored 49 goals the season before for Celtic, and I think he arrived and we all thought, oh, you know what, he's going to score 25 goals for us. And I think he got 12 in his first season.
You know what he lacked?
I thought
he lacked a bit of speed. I thought he lacked a little bit of speed.
He didn't have that explosive pace, did he? No. And he didn't want to work hard enough either most of the time, did he? He didn't like getting tackled, did he?
Well, he's had a nice hairstyle, don't I?
No, he had nice hair and he was a cool dude and I loved him, but he didn't quite live up to the expectations that we had for him, unfortunately, and he never really kind of hit those heights again, did he? Even after he left Arsenal, he never quite got back to what he had shown at Celtic when he was a young lad, unfortunately, I suppose. But anyway, it was good that he played for Arsenal for a while. He gave us some good memories, I say, like against Tottenham in particular. Shane in the chat there says Ten Hag was number 2 to Pep. Well, yeah, so was Arteta, so let's not use that as a marker. Someone might be. Well, obviously, he's done a lot better, hasn't he, to be fair? But yeah, so maybe you can be number 2 to Pep and still be a decent manager. It's just we got the wrong one, clearly. But anyway, it's still there's still time maybe for him to turn it around, but we said we're going to give him maybe till Christmas then for now, and then we'll see. But his fate may be decided actually this weekend, because we've got another very, very difficult looking game. So Chelsea then, they just beat us at the Emirates in pre-season a couple of weeks back, fairly comfortably. I thought they looked in that game, although we played okay at times. And of course now they've just signed Romelu Lukaku, who always tends to score against us before when he was at Everton and Man United. So you're guaranteed he's going to bag a goal or two. What are you thinking about this, Melvin, for Sunday? What sort of changes are you expecting Arteta to make to the lineup? And what are you expecting from the game, obviously, apart from a difficult afternoon, obviously?
Well, just like I said before, I couldn't pick I got more chance of winning the lottery than picking the 11 that he's going to pick. Honestly, I've got no idea what he's going to pick. I think he'll stick to the back four. Goalkeeper, obviously. The midfield, he'll probably stick. I think he'll stick. He might drop Martinelli. He might do that and make a change. But other than that, I can't. And he might do Balogun again. He might put Saka in.
You think put Saka in? Yeah.
On the left. And up front, he might put, if he gets better, Lacazette instead of Balogun, because Balogun is going to get no change at all at that Chelsea defence. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm worried because when I saw the Chelsea game, I saw them play a little bit against Spurs as well. I thought they looked like they didn't have a pre-season Chelsea. They seemed to play as well straight away. They were playing at 100%, like they were playing midway through a season. They looked very sharp. They looked like a team. They looked like everyone knew what they were doing. And I think they're my kind of favourite for the league this year. I really do. I think if the other two don't look after themselves, the City and the Man City and the what's the other team, Liverpool, if they don't do it, Liverpool had a good win the other day. But if Liverpool slip up and Man City suddenly want to do this tip-tap football and's got no one up front to put it in the net like we saw the other day against Spurs, I think that Chelsea, they've got it all. They've got now a very good striker. They've got people that they spent a lot of money on a couple of strikers last year, and they could possibly play off Lukaku as well. I think they look very, very dangerous. And as I say, it's not like we're going to hit them when they're cold. They look like they're hot, Chelsea, at the moment.
Yeah, they do.
We look like we need another 6 games to oil the engine. They don't. And I'm fearing the worst. Listen, when we kick off, I'll be shouting and screaming, hoping we do it. My heart will feel one thing, my head will say another thing. But I listen, you couldn't get me to back Arsenal on Sunday. I'll only back them because I'm an Arsenal supporter. Although if you actually look at it, the only thing going in our favour, I suppose, that you can never bet on football because strange results happen. And for us to beat Chelsea, in my opinion, have to be a strange result.
I agree. We're certainly not going to start favourites, are we, by any stretch of the imagination? And it just goes to show, doesn't it, what a difference a manager who's maybe got experience, knows what he's doing, how to change things around quite quickly. I mean, Chelsea went from sort of not that higher up than us in the league last Christmas to winning the Champions League, winning the Super Cup, and now, as you rightly say, one of the favourites to win the Premier League this season. And they're certainly going to be there or thereabouts now they've signed Lukaku, because that was their problem. Timo Werner don't score enough goals. No. And now they've got a striker who, I mean, his goal scoring record is unbelievable, isn't it, Lukaku? I know, we've all laughed about him sometimes, his first touch and this, that and the other, but he's a big, strong lad. He's got pace and he does score goals. He might need 10 chances, but they go in and his record is unbelievable. And that's what Chelsea needed. And, I think Ryan mentioned it in the chat a little bit earlier. We don't get the players that we need in the positions we need. Chelsea have gone out and got it. They've got the player that they needed. And he may well transform them from, a team that's going to finish in the top 4 to a team that can win the league. And unfortunately, like you said, I agree, they seem to be in the groove straight away. They've hit the ground running. They look as though they haven't had a break, as you said. And unfortunately, we look all over the place. And it's maybe not the best time for us to be playing them, especially as they did win at the Emirates just a couple of weeks ago in that pre-season game. So, yeah, it's worrying times. I mean, what are you sort of expecting, Adam? Do you think there's going to be too many changes in the team? I know we don't know about Aubameyang and Lacazette at this point, but do you think he'll make too many changes anyway, bearing in mind he does tend to make a few anyway, doesn't he? Whether we played well or not.
I would like to see possibly Holding coming from Marie at the back. I think Pablo Marie is over pre-season, and what we've seen so far has been all over the place. I know he likes to play with the left-sided centre back and the right-sided centre back, but again, physicality-wise, I think Rob Holding gives you a bit more physical presence. Even though Marie's pretty good in the air, I do think that he'll get bullied off the ball easier from Lukaku. So I'd probably like to see that. And again, I think Saka needs to come in. I'd probably be inclined to take Balogun out, move Martinelli in the middle, because I think, again, Martinelli plays better centrally, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's a good point.
Those would be the two I'd like to see, ideally. But again, who knows?
Exactly.
That's what I'd like to see anyway, but we will see. But again, I'm trying to be a bit more confident. I'm trying to think that last few games minus the friendly, last few competitive games against Chelsea, we've done all right. We've got the better of them in a lot of occasions, and I'm really hoping we get a reaction. After last week, I'm really hoping that back at the Emirates, full stadium, crowd behind us, that we actually get a reaction. And we get a reaction and we play well and we still lose. Fair enough, That's what I want to see, a reaction.
Yeah.
We get a reaction, and Chelsea are not up for it. Football's football. Anything can happen. That, I'll tell you my predictions a little bit later, but I agree with Melvin in regards to Chelsea. I do think they look a very strong team this year. I was very impressed with them in the Champions League final. I thought they played that game brilliant. Tuchel looks like he's got very good game management. He sets his teams up differently through their opponents, which is something that Arteta doesn't do. They're solid everywhere. I think that they're still possibly not that great down their left back. I don't think they've got the strongest left backs. I think they're better going forward. Alonso, for instance, and Palmieri, they're better going forward the defence. So I'd probably target that. Maybe Pepe down the left side, target that kind of area if I could. But I'm hopeful. I'm not confident, but I'm hopeful.
Well, I think we all have hope, don't we? And Mark Green says he agrees with Melvin. He says Chelsea are his favourites for the Premier League as well. And he did say that we're talking about Mourinho there. Russ says Mourinho was Bobby Robson's translator. And then Mark Green says, and he was number 2 at Sporting and Barca. So there you go. So Mourinho was a number 2. So he's one of the exceptions to the rule. Mark C says there, we did the double over them last year. We've beaten them 3 times in a row, but 2 of them were under Frank Lampard. And when we beat them under Tuchel at the end of last season, it was just before the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. So I don't think that they were maybe quite as bothered about that game as they might have been.
Wasn't it a dodgy goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very dodgy goal. And I think they had their minds elsewhere that day. But yeah, we did do the double over them last year. We have beaten them 3 times in a row. So we've got that again. You see, that's that hope that Adam mentioned there. That's what kills us, isn't it? And Shane says there, what are your thoughts on playing 3 at the back? When we played 3 at the back under Arteta, that was probably when we looked the best that we've ever looked under him, actually. And he binned it off for some reason. We've maybe got 3 centre halves at the moment. You could even drop Tierney in there and play Tavares as a wing back. We've got the option to do it. I would like to see us try it at some point, whether playing it again. Chelsea play 3 at the back, don't they? That's their system. That Tuchel's kind of, polished up. Do we want to match them up with that on Sunday? Go 3 at the back and maybe match them? Or would that maybe not work against?
But you say that, right? This is a really interesting thought. This is a really interesting thing because you mentioned it just then. Like when we were playing 3 at the back, we'd done like the 3-4-3 formation when we won the FA Cup. We beat City in the semi-final, Chelsea in the final, and we were great. Like we didn't.
And Liverpool.
We didn't have the possession, but we tactically on the break we had them, and like you just said, like it was working with the team we had, and then he just scrapped it. Yeah. Because when that was happening, I was thinking, well, this could actually be our formation going forward. Let's buy these players. And it suited Aubameyang. It suited Tierney. We had Saka playing that wing back kind of role. I think we had Maitland-Niles playing the cup final. Who was superb playing out there.
Yeah, terrific.
Then they just scrapped it. Personally, I'd like to maybe go back and give it a try because it was working.
Yeah. It was working. And what are they doing in training? Are they not trying these things in training to see, because obviously the current thing isn't working clearly. And I mean, whether you want to change it in a game against Chelsea, I'm not sure. But why not bring it in at some point? And, even Russ says there in the chat as well, he says Frit back is our best bet. Yeah, it seems to be, because that's certainly we played our best football under Arteta playing that system. And since he scrapped it, we've gone backwards. So it's definitely something that I would like to see again at some stage this season, very, very quickly. Whether he'll do it on Sunday, I'm not sure if he will. I think he might persist with the current system for a little bit longer, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm not confident as Adam and hope. Obviously, I hope we can do what we did last year. It could be the result that turns our season around, because it did last year, didn't it? We beat Chelsea when we were struggling, and it changed the whole momentum of the season, didn't it? And we ended up finishing the season a lot better. So let's hope that happens this week as well, and we can go there, get the result that we need. And maybe the crowd, as Adam says, that might make a difference, mightn't it? We haven't had a full crowd at the Emirates for a league game for a long time, have we? And we haven't done particularly well at home. We certainly didn't last year without the fans in. So, I know there's going to be a protest before the game, and whether that's going to be a distraction again like it was last year, I'm not sure. But hopefully the crowd in the stadium can get behind the team, and who knows, that might make the difference. It might give us an extra 5% on the pitch, and who knows, maybe that's what we need. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not confident that we can win. We'll come on to predictions in a minute, but I just want to see us compete with a team like Chelsea, because they're going to be one of the benchmark teams this season. I think I agree. I think they're going to be up there, definitely. Whether they'll win it or not remains to be seen, but they'll certainly be up there. So it's an opportunity for Arteta to show that he can get the team to compete with the best teams in England, and it's an opportunity for him to do it. So I'm looking forward to the game from that perspective, but whether I'll be looking forward to the rest of it after the first 10 minutes or not, it remains to be seen. But it's an opportunity for us and for Arteta to really show that he can get the team up for, he can organise them to beat or to compete with certainly the big teams. And even if we lose the game, if we've given it a good go and we've been unfortunate and we've maybe lost the game, we maybe should have got a draw, shouldn't we, against them in that friendly when Willock scored. It was not given when it went over the line. So, if we lose maybe like that, you can think, well, okay, we've competed with them. But if we get really turned over, then that's worrying, really, really worrying times, isn't it, if that happens? But,
Richard, going back to the point, and a very good point, three at the back, we were playing much better football and getting better results. It's a shame we never had a pre-season to try it out. If only we'd had some friendlies. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's for, isn't it? Well, we've got the players to play that system as well. Yeah, we've definitely got the players to play that system with the Sackers, the of course we have. Maitland-Niles. Yeah, we've got the players. We definitely have. We definitely have got the players to do it. We've shown that when we played it before. But you're right. I mean, pre-season. I mean, my vets team, we've just come out of pre-season, and we only had 3 friendlies, and we played a different system in all 3 games to see what worked and what didn't. Because that's what friendlies are for. Exactly. That's what pre-season's for. We won our first game 4-1, by the way, so it worked. So, but yeah, I agree with you. That's when he should have done it. He should have tried it out. We should have played not against Chelsea at home. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's baffling, actually baffling. We've got Terry Mancini's here, so I'll pop back again. Good to see you. He said for some reason Arteta seems to do Chelsea. Well, he's got a decent record against Chelsea after losing his first game at home against them. This absurdly makes me question my identity and regret the use of heavy drugs. Might drop some acid and hope he does it again. Yeah, definitely. I think that might be what's needed, maybe, Terry. We have to see. But certainly something to think about, isn't it? And it will certainly ease the pain if we lose as well. So it's a win-win situation, really, isn't it? So maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's what we all need to do. Right, before we finish, what we need to do is we need to do our little prediction league because it's quite exciting. So the week 2. What we need to do first of all is get an update from last week's predictions, which was quite fun. We've got 2 in joint second place with 5 points, and that is actually me and Adam. We both got 5 points last week, which was not a fantastic result, but it was all right. And actually Melvin's leading the way. He's got 6 points.
helped by getting the Arsenal score right, actually, which was good. So
shame.
basically, the scoring system, if you get the actual score right, you get 2 points. If you get the result right, you get 1 point. And if you get none of it right, you get no point. So Melvin leads the way by 1 point, I say, on the back of getting the Arsenal score disappointingly right. So that's put him into the lead, because me and Adam both put a draw, so I didn't get any points on that game. And that's what's given Melvin the advantage, which is good. So what we're going to start with then, we'll start with the first game, which is a Saturday lunchtime game. Liverpool at home to Burnley. What are we saying, Melvin?
3-0 Liverpool.
Okay, 3-0 to Liverpool. That seems pretty standard. Adam, what are you going for in that one?
I've gone the same. 3-0 Liverpool, yeah.
You got 3-0 Liverpool as well.
Interestingly enough, last week, did you notice there was no draws in the Premier League?
No, there wasn't actually. Yeah, that's true. That's unusual. So there's going to be a few draws this week probably, but we'll see. But I agree with you two. I don't think this is going to be a draw. I know Burnley did win at Anfield last season, but I think Liverpool win comfortably. I'm going for 4-0 for that one. I just think Liverpool's firepower will be far too much for Burnley, and they'll win that one. Next one, it's Aston Villa at home to Newcastle. Both, of course, lost their first game, didn't they? But Aston Villa at home. What are we thinking, Melvin?
I think 2-0 to Villa.
2-0 to Villa. Okay, another home win. What about you, Adam? What were you thinking for that one?
I've gone 2-1 Villa.
2-1 Villa. Okay. A nice close game. I actually think Newcastle away from home may well do quite well. I think Villa have had a poor start. I'm going to actually go for a Newcastle win. I'm going to go Villa 1, Newcastle 2. I think Newcastle are going to win at Villa Park, which will be interesting. I just think that Villa aren't quite on it yet. They were quite poor last week against Watford, and I thought Newcastle played quite well at times in the first half, certainly. Next one's Crystal Palace against Brentford, another London derby for both of these teams. Obviously, contrasting opening results. Palace losing to Chelsea and Brentford obviously beating us. Their first away game. Obviously, Patrick Vieira's first home game. What are you thinking, Melvin?
I don't want this result to be right, because I want Palace to do well for obvious reasons. But I think he's going to find it tough, though, Patrick. I think they're going to get beat 2-0. You
think Brentford will win 2-0?
Yeah.
Okay, 2-0 away win now. What about you, Adam? What are you thinking for this one?
1-1 draw.
Or the first draw of the Premier League season, maybe.
Maybe.
If it comes up. I mean, I can understand the draw. I actually think that Brentford will take the momentum from beating us, and I agree with Melvin. I think Brentford will win. I think they'll win 1-0. I think it'll be a tighter game. I think they'll just snatch it 1-0. Next one looks an interesting game, actually. Leeds at home to Everton. Leeds got absolutely hammered at Old Trafford. Everton had a good result, actually, under Rafa Benitez. What are we thinking of this one, Melvin? Leeds at home to Everton.
3-2 to Leeds.
Oh, that should be a good game, wouldn't it? That'll be a good game. 3-2 to Leeds. What about you, Adam? What are you thinking for this one?
I think Leeds will bounce back 2-1. 2-1 Leeds.
3-1 Leeds. Okay. I'm thinking this one's going to be a draw. I think both teams have got goals in them, so I'm going to go 2-2 for this one. Desmond 2-2. Now we've got a game which may, on paper, look quite easy to predict, but we'll see. Manchester City at home to Norwich. I know City lost last week and Norwich got absolutely hammered by Liverpool. Are City going to bounce back against Norwich, Melvin?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to score a lot of goals. I know they normally do of years past when they play teams like that. I'm just going for a 2-0 win. I think they're playing without centre forward and they're tippy-tappy. They will score a couple, 2-0.
Well, it's worked for them overall, hasn't it? I suppose the way they play. But anyway, not always the best team to watch. But anyway, it's successful. And what about you, Adam? What are you thinking? Man City v Norwich?
I've actually gone exactly the same, 2-0. Yeah, I agree. I think they'll win, but I don't think you're going to steamroll them. I think an attritional 2-0 win.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a bit of the Norwich game last week against Liverpool. I thought defensively Norwich were quite poor, and Man City will punish that. So I think Man City will actually win 3-0. I think it'll be quite comfortable. They'll probably get 2 goals quite early on and then take their foot off the gas and then maybe pop in a third one later on. De Bruyne might probably start this week as well, which will add to their kind of chances as well. Another interesting game, it looks interesting to me anyway on paper, Brighton at home to Watford. What are we thinking of that one, Melvin? Could be quite an interesting game, this.
I'm actually going Brighton 0, Watford 2.
Ooh. Watford 2. Wow, Watford
I
would
think
be.
they performed so well last year, Brighton. I think they might have a bit of reaction this year.
Yeah, I mean they got off to a decent start, winning away at Burnley. So they played pretty well. What are you thinking, Adam? Brighton against Watford.
Another draw, 2-2. I fancy goals in that one, mainly because I
Okay.
don't think the defences are that good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got Brighton's best defender, haven't we now? So, well, certainly one of the better defenders. I actually think Brighton will win this. I think Brighton will just sneak it 1-0. I like the way Brighton play. They got a good result in the first game. I think at home with the fans in the stadium, I think it might just favour them, and I think they might just sneak that one. Another game that could be potentially interesting on paper again, Southampton against Manchester United. Obviously, Man United did beat Southampton 9-0 at Old Trafford towards the end of last season. I'm sure Southampton won't want to repeat that. What are you thinking, Melvin? Southampton at home to Man United?
Southampton 1, United 3. There's always goals in United now, isn't there?
It seems to be. There certainly was last week. And I think as well, I don't think Man United lost away from home last season, did they, in the league? I think they went all season without an away defeat. So, you got to favour them, I suppose, in this one. What are you thinking, Adam?
I fancy another big United win, 4-1. I've gone for.
Oh, 4-1 away.
Is that right?
Yeah,
United beat them 9-0.
last year. Yeah.
At Old Trafford they did, yeah. They beat them 9-0, yeah.
Did Southampton get beat by Leicester by a lot as well?
Yeah, 9-0 as well, yeah. That was the season before.
That was 2 9-0s they had.
Yeah, they've lost them 9-0 twice, yeah.
Bloody hell. I knew they got beat by Leicester.
Incredible that, really. It's incredible, isn't it? But yeah, they've had 2 9-0 hammers in the last couple of years. I think it's obviously, to me, this is one of the easiest results to predict. I think Man United will win this game away from home. They'll catch them on the counter attack. I'm going to go 2-0. I think I don't think it's going to be lots of goals, but Man United should win that quite easily. There is a game that obviously we all want a home win for. Wolves at home to Tottenham. Again, contrasting results last week. Wolves lost and Tottenham won, both 1-0. What are we thinking, Melvin? Wolves at home to Tottenham. Are Wolves going to do it for us?
I hope so, but I'm predicting 1-2. Wolves 1, Spurs 2.
Oh, well, obviously Nuno going back to his old club quite quickly as well. It's a little bit of extra kind of to the game with that going on, I suppose. And what are you thinking, Adam? Wolves at home to Tottenham?
I think Spurs win, but 1-0 again, like similar to what I done last week. Again, Nuno going back, he's not going to want to lose. I think unless Wolves make some new signings, they could struggle this year.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they've got Jimenez back. I don't know how fit he's going to be, how long it's going to take him to hit the ground running. Obviously, if he can start scoring goals for them, they should be okay. I thought they played okay against Leicester for spells in that game last week, and they were maybe unfortunate not to get a draw. But I think they will get a draw this week, so I'm going to go 1-1 for that one. I think Wolves will get a draw against Tottenham. I think the players will be up for it against Nuno as well. I think they'll get a lift with a crowd as well. I think there'll be a good atmosphere there, and I think Wolves will get something out of that game. I'll leave our one for now. We'll go to the Monday game, West Ham at home to Leicester. Obviously, both teams won their first game. West Ham played well at Newcastle in the end. Leicester, scraped that win against Wolves. What are you thinking, Melvin? West Ham at home to Leicester on Monday night?
I think we're 1-1 draw.
And Adam, what are you thinking for that one?
I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
A 2-2 draw there. Okay. I actually think West Ham will win. I think West Ham at home, their first home game, they've got goals in them. I think they're going to win this one. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think West Ham will win that 3-1. Right, okay, the final game of the weekend. Well, it isn't the final game of the weekend. It's the final game we're going to give our score prediction for. It's the only one that matters as far as we're concerned. Arsenal at home to Chelsea, as we've spoken about already. What is your prediction, Melvin, for this massive game?
The Arsenal, we're still the Arsenal 1, Chelsea 2.
Oh, he's going to defeat again. 2 weeks running. Melvin's gone for an Arsenal defeat. He was right last week. Will he be right again? Adam, what are you thinking for this one?
I'm going to still try and be positive, but not to go 1-1.
1-1. This is a very, very tough one to call. I think Lukaku's going to rip Ben White to pieces, actually, and Pablo Mari if he's playing. I think it's going to be a really, really tough game. I don't want to predict an Arsenal defeat because I feel really, really bad if I do that, but I do think we're going to lose. And I think it's going to end Arsenal 0, Chelsea 2. I don't want it to, but I just got a bad feeling it's going to, just because Chelsea are a lot better than us, and I think that's just going to, the game's going to reflect that. So there's our scores there. It's going to be interesting to see. Can me and Adam pull some points back on Melbourne this week? We'll have to see. I've gone a little bit bold in some of the games, and but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see. So we can look at them scores over the weekend. We've got a couple of comments have come in. Shane says there, we went from 3 at the back to Bellerin playing inverted right back, square pegs in round holes. Well, yeah, square pegs in round holes have been the theme under Arteta, unfortunately. Mark C says there, so chaps, it sounds like Odegaard is on his way in. Has there been a bit of movement on that then, is there tonight? I mean, doesn't surprise me because there's been a lot of talk that may be happening. And although it's a decent enough signing, it doesn't improve us from last year because he played last year, and it improves what we've got currently at the moment. I think that's obvious, but is it improving us overall? Probably not. But I guess it's better than nobody coming in, isn't it? Is that a loan, Mark, or is it an actual permanent signing? Because that'd be interesting as well if it's only another loan.
They're talking permanently.
Are they? What is it? Is it 30 million? Is it 30 million?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, if it's a permanent deal, that's even better, isn't it?
On Twitter, they're not really saying, but...
No one else would probably pay 60.
Yeah, probably. And probably pay him 500 grand a week and then can't sell him in 2 years' time when it doesn't work out. But to be honest with you, I quite like Martin Odegaard. I thought he showed promise last season, and I'm not against him signing. I just don't feel as though it improves us massively on last year, does it? Because it'd be the same midfield that played last season. So it's not an improvement at all, but apart from Lokonga, maybe. So we'll see how he does and when Thomas Partey's fit. But we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's good maybe that at least we're doing something, but it's probably not the signing that we really wanted, is it? Really, I don't think. If we could have chose a midfield player to come in, would it have been Martin Odegaard? I don't know. I do quite like him, but it isn't massively improving our midfield, which is what I thought we needed.
What would it have cost us, Richard, do you think, if we could have got the Brighton midfielder?
Basuma?
Yeah.
Would
it have cost the same money?
Probably less, I would have thought.
Oh, you're joking. It's a no-brainer.
No, I think he may have been more, actually. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we paid 50 million for Ben White. So, from Brighton. So I would say you're probably looking at something around that kind of figure, maybe. He's still young, isn't he, Basuma? He's had a couple of good seasons in the Premier League. He's got that experience. I think maybe 50 million would probably be what we would have needed, which I would have paid for I would have paid 50 million for Basuma instead of Ben White, if I'm honest.
Definitely.
But, I mean, I don't know if we're still in the hunt for him. Nothing's been mentioned about Basuma.
No, nothing at all. But I'd rather pay it on him than pay for Odegaard. I think we've got similar players to Odegaard.
We have, but we don't really have another player to replace Smith Rowe if he gets injured, and he does tend to get injured.
You can't keep thinking about him getting injured. I know that it probably might happen, but we can't build our squad around someone getting injured.
No, but you need to have people that can come in and replace them, don't you? Especially important players. I mean, Smith Rowe's an important player for us, and if he's out, currently you would replace Smith Rowe in that position if he got injured. There's no one in the squad.
You'd flip Saka there, wouldn't you?
Possibly. I mean, he's not really played there much, but I don't know. I do feel it's an area we need to get someone in. Odegaard's maybe an answer for that, but we need more. Clearly, we need more because we need to improve our midfield from last season. And Basuma, for me, has always been the one I've wanted.
Yeah.
Last summer it was Decore, and he went to Everton and he's done quite well. This season, it's Basuma's been my pick, but again, it doesn't look as though he's gonna do it. But anyway, we've lost Adam again. I know he had a few internet problems a bit earlier. Let's see if it can come back in. I mean, we're going to kind of wrap up now anyway because we've gone through everything. A busy show, lots to talk about, obviously, as there generally is with Arsenal. And let's hope that some of the things that we've mentioned can be put into practice on Sunday, and we can at least compete with Chelsea in that game. Give them a game, and if they win because they're the better team. Let's not just roll over like we did against Brentford. That's what I want to see. Obviously, I want to see us win as well. That would be fantastic, but I'm not sure whether or not we've got the we've got enough about us to beat them at this moment in time. But you never know. As I think it was Mark said in the chat, we did do the double over them last season, so let's hope that we can build on that and beat them again. But I just want to see us compete with them. That's, to me, that would be a good day, maybe, if we can compete with Chelsea and get a positive result as well. Would be fantastic. But as Adam said, we're not confident, but we're hopeful, and that's, I suppose, about as good as it could get at the moment. I suppose it's probably going to be every week we'll be like that, won't we? I think. As things stand, but anyway, we'll see. Melvin, just before we go, where can people find you on social media?
Just as it says below, Melvin on Twitter. Melvin the only way is Arsenal. Marks. Enjoyed it again, Richard. Really good this format. I like it a lot.
No, it's always a pleasure to everyone. I'm enjoying doing this show on a Tuesday, actually. Obviously, we're going to carry it on throughout the season. Hopefully, Dorsey might be back next week. I think he's moved now, so he's settling in. So hopefully, he'll be available to come back on next week as well, which would be nice. And Adam, where can people find you as well on social media and stuff?
Yeah, again, you can find me on Twitter down below there at Adam792001. Adam Always Arsenal. Yeah, again, really good show. Always enjoy coming on, getting things off my chest. And talking to like-minded people is always fun.
Yeah, we might have to start calling this the Tuesday therapy session instead, maybe. If we keep losing games, that might be what it's going to, because it kind of works on that basis for me, actually. Shane says, come on, you Gooners, really like this club. Thanks, lads. No problem, Shane. You're always welcome in our Tuesday club, mate. No problem at all. The door's always open for you. We enjoy having you in the chat, and indeed everybody else that's been in the chat tonight as well. Obviously, Mark C's been in, Terry Mancini's hair transplant as well, which is always a pleasure. Fantastic name as well, which is always good. Obviously, Russ as well. Mark Green was in earlier. Ryan, of course, as well, from the Mr. Arsenal podcast. Definitely check his channel out as well if you haven't done so already. Gary Jones was in as well. Good to see Gary in the chat tonight. And GG Gooner as well, and the Revenant as well. Obviously, earlier on, Liverpool fan who's probably enjoying life a little bit more than we are at the moment. But anyway, sure, will turn around eventually. They always do, because we're Arsenal, and they always will, because that's the way it is. So thanks to you guys. Fantastic to hear your views about everything to do with Arsenal as well. And coming up on the channel, if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Actually, I forgot to mention that before. Please give this a like as well if you've enjoyed the show. It's been good fun again, as always. Good to chat to the guys. And we'll be back with the Tuesday Club next week. I'll be doing a preview of the Chelsea game as well, a video later on this week as well. And if I can find the Chelsea fans to come on, I didn't have any joy last year, the 2 games. So I'll try and get a Chelsea fan on later in the week as well, maybe Friday, to preview the game with a Chelsea fan, but I'll see how that goes. Otherwise, I'll be back and doing a watch along on Sunday as well. Are you at the game, are you, Adam? I'm assuming you will be.
I'm not actually. I'm out of the country this weekend, which is unfortunate. Oh, yeah. So we had a holiday booked. Wife wouldn't let me change it. So
well, it's a holiday. It'd be more fun having a holiday anyway than watching Arsenal.
We'll see. But no, I'll be there for the game. I think Norwich game's the next home game. So yeah, I'll be back for that one. Looking forward to it. Hopefully.
Well, yeah. Hopefully we may have a different manager by then if things haven't changed. But anyway, we'll see.
No.
I don't think it'll happen that early. But anyway, there could be some exciting transfer news then on the horizon. And I'll probably do something about that. And I will maybe look at Mikel Arteta's press conference as well, because last week's one was quite annoying. Wound me up a little bit because he never really answers any questions, does he? That may be because he hasn't got any answers, I would say. That's probably my guess. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. So loads coming up on the channel. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Please like and share the content around. And we will catch up with you next Tuesday. If we don't see you before, I say don't forget to watch along on Sunday, and say look out for some other stuff in the week as well ahead of the Chelsea game. And of course, in the meantime, hopefully things will turn around. And Melvin will be wrong with his score prediction this week. He's going to be wrong, and I'm wrong as well because I predicted a Chelsea win. Let's hope Adam's right, or even we might even win. Who knows? We shall see. But in the meantime, as always, come on, you Gunners, come on,
come on
this week. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's go.